welcome back to Santino Sunday Cigar Review. This week we're doing the Arturo Fuente Anejo Reserva, so stay tuned.
Get it.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Santino's Sunday Cigar Review. Of course, it's myself, Mike, Maddie, and Sparks behind the camera. Thanks for being here today. So, as Maddie mentioned, we're reviewing the Fuente Anejo Reserva, and I am smoking the 5 5/8 by 46, which, as you all know, if you've been watching the show, I kind of like this size. Maddie, you want to give us a little background on the brand and the cigar a little bit?
So this, the breakdown for the cigar is that it's got a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper on it, which is actually grown here in the U.S., so that's a thing to note for this. And Dominican fillers and binders in it as well. And overall, that Connecticut broadleaf wrapper that I was mentioning is actually aged in cognac barrels. So it has this really, really dark, almost Oscuro-like color to it. It's probably going to be a little bit stronger than most Fuentes you'll ever smoke. Are you finding anything with that?
Yeah, first of all, just it's probably hard to see on the camera, but just the outward appearance, I mean, it's a very dark, I would say like a Oscuro wrapper. It's rough, uneven, it has some veins. I think that possibly is typical of the Connecticut broadleaf. It's a really dark, classy looking cigar. So I'll kind of jump right in. It is going to be full bodied and full strength, and we're going to get into that in a later segment. I'm going to have Maddie explain that for the audience, because I think a lot of people get body and strength and Maduro. There's certain terms in the industry that a lot of times just the general public are misusing because they don't understand. And it oftentimes it changes their selection process when they're in a humidor because they're really not understanding the terms. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into that. But anyways, in this first third, what I've noticed, so I did a V cut, and I didn't really want to do a V cut. I would have preferred to do a straight cut, but it was the first thing I could find in the store. I do, it's kind of interesting. I don't like the way it's burning. It's burning asymmetrical all over the place. It's not keeping a really good uniformed ash. These are just some basic observations in the first third. Note-wise, which is your body, that's what they mean by the body of the cigar. I'm picking up a little grass, hay, obviously some earthiness. This is a Dominican cigar with made in the Dominican at their factory. So a little coffee, a little leather. It's your typical. It actually has some characteristics of Nicaraguan cigars in a lot of ways, but it is Dominican tobacco. It is leathery. I'm not a big fan of that. Some people are. It is starting to pick up with spice as I smoke. It is a full punch of nicotine. So if you like that, or if you're a cigarette smoker converting to cigars, this might be something you like because it has a high nicotine in flavor content. And so we'll stay tuned. We'll pick this up. We'll do the second, third. Maddie, you can describe some things, and we'll be right back. Thanks.
Hey, y'all. So while Mike smokes into that a little bit more, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight as to what the different terms that we've been using are. So my little insight for the day today is the difference between bodied and strength. So body is really the taste of a cigar. It's how that taste coats your cigar. So something that would be considered a full-bodied flavor in things that are not cigars would be like a really heavy peaty scotch. That would be considered a full-bodied scotch because it coats your mouth. You have that really big taste to it.
Good example.
And coffee as well would be a really good example of that because it has it has a taste. It coats your mouth. That's what a full-bodied truly means. Is it has a really big and bold taste to it. So if you go with a lighter body, it has less of that punched in your mouth taste to it. And strength really only depends on the nicotine content of it. So if something has a really high nicotine content, it's going to have a high strength, like this cigar that Mike's smoking today. If something has a lower strength, it's going to have a lower nicotine content. So like your Esteban Carreras Cashmere and stuff like that would be a good example of that. So
Right. Good. And that's something that I think just so many people just don't understand. Even people that enjoy cigars, been smoking cigars for even years. And so kind of what we try to do here. All right, folks, I'm just going to hop right into the second third. I have noticed something in between the break and while Maddie was speaking. So my cigar has, the wrapper is just coming undone in the middle of the cigar. So, folks, I don't want anybody to get alarmed. This isn't prototypical of Fuente. I did let the cigar rest when I took it out of the humidor for about 10 minutes because we are in fall here and the temperatures are dropping, so the humidity is changing in the humidor, and we change that humidity as the seasons change. But I did do what you were supposed to do in a lot of cases. Now, normally you wouldn't do this with you wouldn't have to rest a cigar before you light it. Usually that it comes into play when you're talking about a Connecticut wrapper, which tends to be more delicate.
Cameroon as well.
I did not expect this to happen. So once again, this isn't necessarily a negative. The cigar is still smoking fine. I'll explain that in a minute. But just wanted to point out that, this could happen with any cigar. As far as notes and the body of the cigar, I think that's how we're going to start referring to it on these segments. The flavors in the second third have pretty much stayed the same. I'm getting definitely a big punch of nicotine, and the spices are slightly picking up in the second third. I did a retro inhale in the break, and if you like that, what you find is I found a much more intense pepper, like black pepper flavor in the retro inhale. So that's interesting if you like that. But I'm going to, we're going to take a break. I'm going to get into the last third, and we'll be back with some more information, so stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is our final segment, the third of the cigar, so to speak. Once again, in the third, really now, the overriding taste or body is I'm getting an earthy tone, still spicy. The spices have picked up, but it's a subtle change. I don't think this cigar is going to have that. I don't think it was designed to have dramatic up and down and changes. It's pretty consistent throughout. Maddie, I do want you to explain to the audience what they can do when the wrapper starts unraveling like that, even though they may have did everything right like I did, let it rest for a while.
Yeah. Honestly, the best thing to do is just take a little bit of saliva from your tongue and to just smooth down that wrapper with one of your fingers.
Spit on it, folks.
So, honestly, that's going to be the best thing to do. What you really don't want to do is tear it like that, because that will actually cause even more damage to the wrapper, and you have a really great chance of having it just completely unroll on you, which is pretty much the last thing that you want, because at that moment you're losing all your wrapper leaf, which is just really unfortunate.
And we're going to jump just right in. You know what? I do want to mention. I'm going to use it. I'm going to hold off. I'm going to use it in my pros and cons. Let's jump to pros and cons. Maddie, what are your pro and con for this cigar? Because I know you've smoked this in the past.
Yeah, so my pro for this cigar would be its broadleaf wrapper. I really, and everybody around here kind of knows that I'm a huge nerd about certain certain wrappers. Cameroon being my favorite thing to nerd out about, but my second favorite thing to nerd out about is Connecticut broadleaf, especially American-grown Connecticut broadleaf. So that's going to be my pro for this cigar. And my con for this cigar is the price point, because the price point for a cigar that is 5 5/8 by 46, so overall a really small cigar, is above that $8 to $12 range that we like to talk about here on the show. And I think that that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and for me, the pro is you get that Fuente quality and construction that is standard throughout the world. I also like, there are occasions where, I love the high nicotine content. And there's going to be lots of people, I had mentioned, for cigarette smokers converting over, that's going to be a great conversion. But, there's a time and place where I need a little jolt of energy that a coffee isn't always going to give me, and this does. My con, I kind of have a couple, possibly. I've been holding off on explaining the draw. So what I have found in this cigar, and maybe I should have mentioned this before, but it's been a very difficult draw. It has been creamy at times, and creamy, folks, refers to how smoky the cigar is, right? It's the white smoke. If you stay on the cigar quite heavily and quite often, you can keep it lit and it's creamy. But just where I've stopped for a minute or two to talk and then go back to the cigar, it's a very difficult draw to get it going again, which that is a little worrisome. I would not expect that with a Fuente. So I've struggled through the whole segment keeping this cigar going. All right, so we're going to hop right into announcements. We're going to wrap this up. I hope you've enjoyed our review on the Fuente Anejo Reserva. First announcement I want to make is this was unbeknownst to me. Last weekend, we were notified as a company that cigarscore.com contacted us and mentioned that we had made the top 10 finalist for the best cigar lounge in the U.S. And customers or anyone can vote for that, and someone on that top 10 list. So please vote for your favorite cigar store that's on the list. Folks, Santino's was the only one selected in the Midwest region. I think that's a heck of an accomplishment since we have been open a little less than 5 years. And I think some of the companies that made the top 10 as a finalist have been open for several decades. So for me, I want to say thank you as the proprietor of this business. I really appreciate it. And for all of you that like what we do, please go out and vote. Maddie, I'm going to kick it over to you. And we don't have, unfortunately, because it's a holiday season, we don't have any events scheduled, liquor or cigars because of COVID. We're still open for full business. We do not have any restrictions here other than requiring the mask just to walk in the door. And then once you're seated, you're fine. Folks, we have the best ventilation system that actually helps with this COVID. That's why the same ventilation system is used at hospitals and casinos. So, folks, this is a very safe environment, and we are always constantly cleaning like all businesses should be doing right now. So, Maddie, just wrap us up.
Yep, make sure you check out the Facebook. We've always got new stuff rolling in right now. So, and I know it's getting into the rare liquor season, so we're going to be having more and more of that coming. So make sure you check out the Facebook to see whenever that comes in. Also, make sure you check out the website. We've always got new stuff on there as well. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, so that way you get notified whenever all of our videos go live.
And remember, folks, at Santino's, we drink,
we smoke, and we know
things.
Have fun, y'all.